What's going on, YouTube? And welcome back to Goal Line Hockey. It's Kevin Forte. Today, we are going to wrap up two Metropolitan juggernauts into the same video. I guess juggernaut is a bit of an overstatement, especially last season for the Rangers. But yeah, the Rangers and the Hurricanes. Now, they made a trade together, and I don't know if there's enough to make a full-on video for each of these teams individually, so we're going to throw them together alongside the Keandre Miller trade. Honestly, I think both teams did all right. I think Carolina definitely did better than the Rangers, but I think the Rangers did pretty well in their own right as well. So let's talk about it, because I think when you consider Carolina and the Rangers, they've been intertwined. It's almost a tradition at this point that they trade defensemen with each other. It's definitely become a theme over the years. Looking back to Brady Shea recently, it makes a lot of sense. It's like the bloodline from the Rangers to Tampa or the Rangers to Carolina. It seems like those three teams seem to do a lot of business with each other with the Rangers. So this is the latest addition to that. Keandre Miller. So let's start off with the first thing. So Miller signs an 8-year deal, $7.5 million per season with the Rangers. And you may be saying, wait, so Kevin, why would he sign with the Rangers if he was just going to get traded? The only way he could get the 8th year on that contract was if he signed with the Rangers. If he was traded, he would no longer have the ability to have that 7th year. Well, now with this situation, Rangers signed him to the deal. He gets his 8th year, a little bit of a lower annual cap hit for Carolina at 7.5. He probably could have got closer to 8 if it was a 7-year deal. So that's kind of where things went. And I think this is a good contract. In terms of what you look around the league, I think the easy thing to look at is, I think, Ivan Provorov. Provorov signed a very similar contract, and I think Keandre Miller's better than Ivan Provorov. There's definitely different categories. I think maybe a little bit on the lower end. You have Ekblad, who signed a 6 over 6.5. You have Nate Schmidt, who signed with Utah. You have, like I said, Provorov is in there. Gavrikov signed with the Rangers, 7 over 7. I think it's one of those things where if you're a Hurricanes fan, I would have enough trust in Rod Brind'Amour that he's going to get the most out of Keandre Miller. I think this is a great thing for him. It's a fresh start. I think toward the end, I think a lot of Rangers fans definitely were more soured on him, and I think it's kind of unfair because he was a first-round pick. The expectations for Miller were super high, and I just don't think. I mean, honestly, I don't think anybody on the Rangers really had that great of a season last year, and he was just one of the players that didn't do well last season. It's really hard to kind of just pinpoint, oh man, Keandre Miller's a bad player. I don't think that's at all the case. So that ends up happening. So we see the signing done, and then we see the actual trade. So Carolina gets Keandre Miller and that contract. The Rangers pick up defenseman Scott Morrow, a 2026 conditional first-round pick. And there's 2 picks that are in play. So whoever's pick is higher between Carolina or Dallas and a 2026 second round pick, which we presume will be the Hurricanes draft pick. I think that's pretty good when it's all said and done. Scott Morrow, a lot of people are saying, well, who's Scott Morrow? How good is this guy? He is a young defenseman. He is not Keandre Miller, no. I think maybe Ranger fans were expecting to get more in that trade in terms of maybe a better prospect than Scott Morrow, but he's on the final year of his entry-level contract. He's 22 years old, and I think he's a former second-round pick. A lot of people think he's a good player. He's from Darien, Connecticut, which isn't terribly far from New York. I think when you look at his numbers and things like that, I mean, nothing crazy. He's played 16 games in the NHL, 14 last season with the Hurricanes. He picked up 6 points in 14 games. Hey, that's not too bad, right? I think his career is going to be I think the Rangers are going to genuinely give him a shot to play regular minutes on the Rangers next season. And I think that's going to be a good thing, because I think the way he's been kind of moving around all over the place with Carolina, he was getting sent up, sent down, sent up, sent down. There wasn't a lot of consistency there, and I don't think that was the best for his game. And I think at 22, going into 23, he's going to be motivated. He's in a contract year. We're going to see what this kid's made of. This is his best opportunity here. He's going to get a fresh start. He's going to get a real opportunity to make some value out of it, which I think this could be really good for him. The cap hit situation, We end up seeing Carolina. They end up taking, the Rangers end up saving $6.5 million here, which maybe that could lead to more things happening here coming for the Rangers. Um, but I think overall you're getting a younger player. Both guys get new scenery. I think this is a good thing for everybody involved, honestly. And I think for Carolina, yeah, the first and second round picks kind of brushed out to the side. You're trying to win a Stanley Cup. Keandre Miller can help you do that. I think that's a really good fit for them. The Rangers, kind of finishing up with the Rangers, I really like what they did bringing in Vladislav Gavrikov. It's a bit high. I mean, let's be honest. It's a 7-year deal at $7 million per season. I mean, how much longer is Gavrikov going to be worth $7 million per season? I don't think the last 3 or 4 years of that contract he will be worth that. But the good news is, because this contract is so front loaded for Gavrikov, we're going to see a lot of money in the beginning. And toward the end of that contract, it would be easier for the Rangers to either buy out or for him to get traded if they have to do that. That is going to be an option down the line. Gavrikov always wanted to be a New York Ranger. That was something that has been talked about pretty much all year so far. But we had a pretty good feeling that he wanted to come back and play for the Rangers. So he is able to do that. And he's a big defenseman. He's very good in terms of just, I think a big thing with the Panthers everybody talked about was the pursuit of the puck. Guys that are hungry for the puck when they don't have it, right? I don't have the puck, so I'm not going to drift skate my way back like the Ovechkin, right? And no defense against Ovechkin, but that's been a known thing, right? He's not known to be a guy that's pursuing the puck when he doesn't have it. Gavrikov is not like that. He's a very good back checker. It's going to sound weird. He's great with the stick. His ability to just make things difficult for the forward or the opposing player coming into the Gavrikov's own defensive zone. He's really going to be a difference maker for the Rangers, and I would put him alongside Adam Fox as the two best defensemen now on the Rangers. In terms of genuine upgrade, I think it is. Honestly, I mean, you consider the difference between Keandre Miller and Gavrikov. Pretty similar players. I think maybe later in his career, Gavrikov won't be as good as Miller, but they also picked up a first and second round pick and a prospect. Well, sort of young defensive player in Scott Morrow. I think the sky's the limit there. And I think the Rangers have a lot of decisions to make because they have a lot of young defensemen already on this team. They're going to have to make some decisions on what they do with Hartford. And I think if Scott Morrow makes the team out of camp, it's going to make it more difficult for somebody else to make the lineup for the Rangers. But I guess that's a good thing, right? It's a luxury of having a lot of good young defensemen. It's not a bad thing. But now that we've seen Keandre Miller move out, that gives room maybe for Scott Morrow to come in. It might give a chance for another one of those young defensemen the Rangers still have to come in. It's going to be a change for the Rangers, and I think it's going to be for the better. We also saw Carolina. They end up keeping, without much fanfare, they keep one of their best forwards in Logan Stankoven. That's a great contract. I think that was worth every penny. You look at some of the other guys in the market who got Christian Fischer making pretty much a pretty similar contract at $6 million. It is a 1-year deal, but still, I mean, he's making the same amount of money next season. I would say Logan Stankoven is a lot better than Christian Fischer. And no discredit to him, but that's a very good contract on an 8-year deal. The last year that the Hurricanes can get that 8th year, they milk that. They make sure they get that 8 year, and you're set. So they keep Logan Stankoven. They bring in Keandre Miller, and this is one that I don't think a lot of Hurricane fans really are talking about or know much about. I think bringing in defenseman Mike Riley is a great pickup for the Rangers, for the Hurricanes. Because I look at some of these other third pairing defensemen that have injury issues similar to Mike Riley. I think his is more, obviously there's a lot of stuff going on with Mike Riley. But Brian Dumoulin making $4 million per year for the next 3 years, 4-year contract at $4.5 million per season for Cody Ceci. As a third pairing defenseman, I would rather take my chances on Mike Riley on a 1-year deal, $1.1 million, not much investment. If things don't work out, he's a UFA next year. If things work out, he can stick around next year on a similar contract. That's fine. These are the contracts that really make a difference because you're able to keep your higher end defenseman, and as a third pairing defenseman, you're paying your third pairing defenseman what he should probably be getting paid, which is either between $1 and $2 million, maybe even league minimum. You want defensemen like that who want to be on the Hurricanes. And if they're willing to take a discount to be on a team that's chasing a Stanley Cup, then you get those guys. Carolina's in the position. They're able to do that. And there's enough trust with Rod Brind'Amour, with this staff, how good the Carolina Hurricanes have done in the playoffs. You're able to do that. So I think overall, I think Carolina did extraordinarily well with everything considered. Yeah, maybe they haven't picked up Nikolai Ehlers yet, or the Rangers maybe didn't get Mitch Marner, but I think there is a lot between both of these teams. Depending on what happens with Jersey, I think these are the two best teams once again in the Metropolitan Division next season. I think last season was a bit of a blip on the radar for the Rangers. I think Shesterkin is much better than he played. I think adding Gavrikov is going to really help solidify that defense. I just think overall, I mean, Carolina is Carolina. You know how good they are. So they're going to be right back in the conversation. I think these two teams are really, this is where it's at in the Metro, is the Rangers and the Hurricanes. So I'd love to know what you guys think in the comments down below. What do you guys think of the moves between these two teams? What do you think of the Miller trade? Let me know your guys' thoughts down below. As always, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you guys again next time.